I find this question impossible, but I'm going to ask you. How would you describe your style?
I think I'm really feminine but not girly, so I'm not like wildly frilly, but I wear a lot of colour, I wear a lot of dresses which have a defined waist, and I wear a lot of pattern. I've never been overly interested in being cool, so if a trend comes out and it doesn't fit my 5'2" figure, I will not be wearing it. The other thing I would say is I'm really polished. I do dress up. I'm just not casual. Like, I'm not a casual dresser, I'm not really a casual person, and I really sometimes struggle when I'm in properly casual environments. It's just not my favourite way of dressing, and if I do end up in an environment where I have to dress like that day after day after day, I feel like my inspiration and confidence gets sapped very quickly. Because I love, you know, a bit of ritz glitz, fabulous fashion. Like, I love colour and, you know, putting something together and being like, that looks awesome.
It's really interesting you just saying that it changes your confidence, because so much about the power of dressing is it started because every woman I speak to has a very different idea of what clothes make them feel confident, sexy, funny, smart. What are the pieces that make you feel really good?
Oh, it's always going to be a dress.
Is it?
Always going to be a dress and always going to be a heel. And I think, you know, I'm a small woman, so there's something about being able to wear a heel that obviously makes you feel more confident. You can reach other people's eye line, for example, and see over the bar. So yeah, heels have always been a big part of it for me, and I've got a lot of them. I think knowing yourself and like immediately identifying that something is just not you is really, you know. Really
oh God, power to that.
Yeah.
To getting older and knowing your body shape and knowing the clothes that make you feel really good.
Exactly.
What I do want to ask is, what have you learnt works for a 5'2", a petite frame?
Yeah.
What have you learnt about your figure?
I mean, I'm not very curvy, but I do think that defining your waist is really important. Otherwise, firstly, you just have to accept that clothes off the peg quite often won't fit you. So you have to be open to having things tailored. I think fit is everything when you're small. As like really well tailored clothes look great, I think. Just being really, really mindful of the proportions of things.
I also wanted to ask you, I am 6 months pregnant. Maternity fashion. We're just going to touch on it.
It's really, really difficult.
Did you feel after, not 9 months, 10 months, that you'd kind of sussed it?
You go into it and you're like, right, I'm going to do this and I'm still going to be me.
Yeah.
And like, in the end of it, you end up wearing jeans and this jumper. You know, it's
every day.
I did have some really fab pieces, but without being able to do separates, one thing that I did find that was really good was a couple of really, really good stretchy skirts. So you could put a stretchy skirt on and then a big jumper over, and it kind of made you feel more like you were dressed, or a maternity dress with a jumper on top. That, you know, that was, I guess, the tricky thing, because I've spent my life in dresses and skirts and all of that every single day, wearing this same uniform of like navy, black and grey.
Yes.
And you know, the maternity jeans have obviously come on a lot, but they don't feel raw, or obviously they're not hard. Everything about them is stretchy, and you know, by the end of
just
that,
fall down my hips and bum.
they do.
And then you're doing that as if you're putting tights on, kind of thrusting back into them on the street.
I had 2 or 3 really good pairs by the end of it, and equally when I was going to an event, like I wore some quite outrageous things because I was like, you know what, that's how I used to dress. And some of the time looking back, I was like, that was a strong decision, my friend, a strong decision. Yeah. My biggest problem is that I went from a 32B to a 34G. It wasn't the belly, it was the boobs.
Did you just feel like boobs on legs?
I did, and it was really difficult because I've never had that figure. So it was like a year, and because my boobs exploded as soon as I got pregnant.
But now they're back to...
They're back.
They've gone back.
They have. But they
that is
like,
pretty amazing
they were like
that they were
They were like this. They were like 2 extra heads. And
what a magical time! Little boobs, or as I do say, fashion tits. It's an easier thing to navigate because it's like, oh, you know, just a loose silk blouse and some tit tape. Not with these at the moment. That would be like, Tone, go home, put your bra back on. So have you always loved fashion before the Harvey Nichols job?
yeah, I always loved shopping.
You always loved shopping?
Yeah, and I do definitely distinguish that between fashion. So I wasn't like a read ID back to back. I was much more like look through Vogue and imagine what I could buy, but find it cheaper at Tammy Girl. Do you know what I mean? Like I was as inspired by movies and you know, iconic women from history. I love the clothes. I love the theatre of it. You know, and the way that you can construct a completely different identity, and you know, it's just so performative, and I think that that's what's always appealed to me about it. So the first that I can remember that I still wear now is a sample sale buy. There are others in there that may or may not have come from fashion cupboards. So
sorry to all previous publications that are like, whatever happened to that
I
dress?
mean, it wasn't stolen, but you know, like
still borrowed. You could return it.
Exactly. At the end of the season, you know, often you'll have like a cupboard sale, and as a fashion assistant, you may or may not be in charge of that. So yeah, there are.
Yeah, I've heard similar stories before. It's like, because you're going to know if they want it back.
Well, exactly.
So if it's in your wardrobe,
yeah.
you're kind of okay.
Exactly. But for me, when I buy a dress, I'm thinking I'll probably be able to wear that in 5 or 6 years' time.
So you're quite a mindful.
Massively.
Would you say you're an investment shopper? So if something's a little bit more expensive, do you invest for longevity?
I believe that you can find quality across the board. Like I've got dresses from Zara that are 6 years old, whereas I've bought expensive things and all the buttons have fallen off. I massively believe that the label means nothing, and a great dress is a great dress is a great dress. It can feel like a warm hug wearing a dress that you know has been your lucky dress for a long time as well. You know,
and revamping it for 2018
exactly.
when it was so good in 2015.
Exactly, and it's just having that mixture and freshening up your, you know, your wardrobe. Yes, from time to time, everyone wants to do that, but not forgetting those little gems that you've got in there as well. And I worked in lots and lots of shops. Some went not so well. I got sacked from a couple of jobs, but I really loved my job at Harvey Nichols, and I worked on the contemporary floor, and it was when Phoebe Philo was at Chloe. So it was an amazing kind of moment in fashion, and it felt like London was an incredible place to be, and I guess the industry was what we imagine it to be. You know, nothing was in flux. There was no digital conversation. It was, you know, fashion with a big F. Fabulous. After that, my mum was like, you need to get work experience. And I was like, how do I do that? She was like, well, all the numbers are in the front of magazines, let's start calling. And I was like,
well done, Mum.
Well,
some sound advice
it was,
there.
and you know, she'd been a secretary her whole life.
Hello.
So, and then
Katherine Ormerod.
Exactly, and she'd worked as a secretary in the advertising industry. So she knew of media and understood kind of how it worked and all of that stuff. So
and just the power of
the phone.
Picking up the phone and actually just making it happen.
Exactly, and I have to say, I've had hundreds of interns over my career, and maybe 3 have ever called me.
That is such a great, simple tip.
It really is, and firstly, when someone calls you, you're like, why are you interrupting my day? But then very quickly, you're like, actually, good on you. And like, I can remember the first calls I made, I'd be like, this is like I had to have it written down what I was going to say, like, you know, cringe.
Looking back you're taking control of it and putting yourself out there, which is so nerve-wracking.
It's like these fashion editors who I looked up to as if they were like demigods, and like in the writing of the book that I've just published, you know, there's there's a few really interesting stats around it, and 50% of HR recruiters now say they wouldn't hire someone that didn't have social media accounts.
God, that's amazing.
Yeah, because I guess people seem shady, like they're trying to hide something.
And it's a vetting process,
Yes,
I guess.
it is, and most big agencies, hiring agencies now employ people specifically to social recruit, so that's a whole new subset of the industry now. And the vast majority of bosses keep social tabs on their staff.
I can see a little pile of how social media is ruining your life by Katherine Ormerod. I'd like to know, are you quite strict with your phone time off the back of the research and the people you interviewed for that book? How has your mindset with social media changed?
It's changed a lot. The most important thing now is I can really recognise when I'm starting to get the icky feeling.
You're like, oh,
Yeah.
Throw the phone away.
Yeah, and I think as I'm like massively aware that it could be coming at any moment. So when I feel it, I'm like, done. I'm really strict about some things, like having it in the bedroom. No phones in the bedroom. We have an alarm clock.
I'm the same. I bullied my husband into it. It took me 6 months to convince him, but last week we got the alarm clocks.
Yeah, and it's just, bed and rise times are such vulnerable
Bed and rise?
Bed and rise. So when you go to bed and when you rise.
That is a bed and rice. I was like, what's that?
Is this
Is that a thing?
A lot of it is being really attuned to yourself, being able to take your own emotional temperature. Like if you're having a mad hormonal week and like find yourself really teary, probably cut back on your social media use. It's going to do much better,
And don't worry if you're not posting twice a day or every day, because the reality is no one will
notice.
probably.
And I really stressed about that through my pregnancy.
Did you?
Yeah, because I was so ill, and nothing I'm doing in my day is anyway content worthy.
That's how
I think a lot of people feel like that, just full stop in their day. Like
Yeah.
a few journalists that I've interviewed are like, oh yeah, I haven't done anything worth posting today, and it makes you feel like, well, and also like, is my life not very interesting that I can't even take one picture to post? And you're like, well, it's just...
Take it easy.
It's fine, you've just done a day of working and you didn't have it's absolutely okay to not have something to say to the world for one day.
Katherine, I totally agree. Sometimes I don't think anyone needs to know that I'm having Marmite on toast and a hot chocolate again for dinner.